Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Dugout podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Cruikshanks, and I'm joined by my co hosts, Laurie Finlayson and Ethan Barlow, to look over the weekend's SPFL action, the opening week. A lot of exciting stuff happening, a lot of boring stuff happening. Scottish football's back. But first of all, Laurie, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. It feels like it's been a while since we've actually all been together to do, an episode in traditional form. Of course, the other day we did have the prediction, but it's nice to actually all be together again. And could we say it's good the league's back? I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either, but one man that might be happy the league's back is Ethan Barlow. How's your holiday, mate?
Aye, good to get away and get a bit of sun before getting back into the full swing of things with the league season. And it's great to have Scottish football back.
Yeah, definitely more for some than others, but yeah. So I guess we'll just dive right in. The first game of the weekend, uh, Rangers went to Tynecastle to play Hearts, and the final score was 0-0. I have plenty to say about this game, but I'll throw it to you first, Ethan, just to get your guys' thoughts on it, and then I'll come in with all my complaints and rants.
Um, yeah, I managed to catch pretty much all of the match, and yeah, it looked like just a start at like a first game of the season. It seems like I don't know about you guys, but it seems that Celtic and Rangers are always having to go to Tynecastle on the first day. Um, but I think Rangers struggled. I think they looked a wee bit off the pace for the first game of the season. I think, to be honest, the only players I would really give pass marks from Rangers would be. I thought Connor Barron was pretty impressive in the midfield, and I thought Jack Butland made a few good saves. But Hearts were solid, and I thought they looked pretty good. Their new signing at the right back, my first time getting to see Gerald Taylor, the Costa Rican. I thought he was very
Aye,
impressive.
aye, it
Um,
looks good.
but yeah, I think that's all my thoughts for that one. I'm sure Alex, you can probably give a better account of the
Yeah,
match.
I'll just quickly come to Laurie. Laurie, you caught the game, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And like what Ethan was saying was very impressed by Hearts. I thought they looked a bit fitter than Rangers, to be honest. And I mean, Hearts haven't given themselves an easy pre-season, by the way, because whilst the Rangers were losing to the likes of Birmingham, I think Hearts might have lost as well, but Hearts were playing the likes of Spurs in pre-season. But no, in all seriousness, Hearts looked really good, and we'll feel quite hard done by not to have picked up 3 points there. I mean, if I was Stephen Naismith, I'd be looking at that as 2 points dropped. Seriously, because Rangers were pretty poor. I mean, Connor Barron did pretty well, all things considered. And as Ethan said, well, Butland got you the point, but like I would have thought he would have put more. I would have thought Philippe Clement would have put more of his new signings in. Maybe they're just not ready yet, or not enough time to bed in. But seems a bit of a strange team to me. But we'll let it all come to you, Alex.
Yeah, just on your point there, I think some of them need a bit of time to get up to speed, and get fit and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. It's not, you see teams like your Kilmarnocks and your St Mirrens sign a guy the day before a game and then he's starting. You won't get that at Celtic and Rangers, just because it's like I'm not. It's just they like to take their time to build them into the squad. But into the game, where do I start? Absolutely terrible first half, really poor. Like you guys said, I think we looked really off the pace, really slow. Uh, Tavernier looks like he might still be carrying something. It looked like he was towing a truck, running back, trying to defend Ben Davies. Every time that ball over the top came to Vargas, he just didn't know what to do. He was getting caught every single time. John Souttar didn't look great either. A couple of dodgy passes, putting Jack Butland in trouble once. Redvan, I thought he was fine. He wasn't good. He wasn't like really bad either. Um, Jack Butland, like you guys said, he was probably one of two that only get pass marks in the team. A few good saves, quite cool on the ball, showing his quality again. Um, Diamande had moments, but he also had moments where he took too long, and he really frustrated me actually watching him because the guys get talent, but I think he needs is another guy in there to sit with Connor Barron and let him be unleashed going forward because Tom Lawrence isn't going to be that guy. And I think having him in there in the midfield is holding Diamande back. Lawrence is so frustrating because you know what he can do, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this. He always seems to like take an extra touch that just messes him up every time he gets the ball in a good position. He always trying to beat an extra guy, and he just runs into. I don't. Am I making that up or?
No, I wouldn't say you are, because there's times where I, watch Tom Lawrence and you think he's done really well here. Just get the shot away or whatever. And they take that extra wee second and lives to regret it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's quite a frustrating player. I mean,
Yeah,
frustrating enough because he's injury prone, let alone when he's actually on the pitch.
I know.
Yeah. I think he's always full of energy, Lawrence, and I think he gets into some great positions on the ball. There was one that I remember from the game the other day where it was in the kind of corner in the box and he picked it up. He had loads of space and Dessers had kind of dropped back at the edge of the area. There was no one in the 6 yard box and he just whips it across the 6 yard box and it just gets cleared without really a fuss. Would have had to
Yeah,
that extra second, maybe could have picked Dessers out, and I'm sure Alex, you'll get on to Dessers in a
yeah.
minute.
I'll get on to Dessers in a minute, but I'm still going on the rest of the team. Connor Barron thought he was quite good. He looks energetic. He looks like he likes to get stuck in. He seems quite comfortable in tight situations. He can get out of them fairly easily. He seems to have a good awareness of where everyone is on the pitch, and yeah, I didn't. Although the whole team wasn't good, I thought he was the only standout that we had. Uh, Oscar Cortez injured again. I'm gutted for the lad. Um, I hope he doesn't turn into an injury-prone player because although we've got him on loan for another season, it's an obligation to buy, and I think it's around 4 million or something like that. So I hope he can pull his act together and turn into a good player for us. Scott Wright, I just why?
Wait, what? Why is he still at Rangers? No disrespect to the guy. Why is he still there?
Yeah, exactly. Like I like him, and he's come up in big moments for us in the past. The assist for Glenn Kamara in the Europa League semi-final, a couple of goals in Scottish Cups, but he just, he, I don't know what to say about him anymore. Um, yeah, just poor. There's a couple of subs. Ravi Matondo was terrible. Czerny didn't really show much, although you can see he's got a bit of ability on the ball, but he didn't look up to speed either. And moving on to the front man, Cyril Dessers, he had a couple of chances, but he just wasn't involved enough for me. He doesn't make runs in behind, um, and we're trying to lump balls up to him. Diamandi's always looking to go forward, and Dessers isn't moving. Um, Although when we do put one thing I will say about Cyril Dessers is he works his socks off, and when it happened a lot last season. If we played a long ball up to him, he'd get up in the air, he'd win it. No one would be running off him. That's one thing that I'd say about him. But if we want to talk about his finishing again, there was one in the first half, really, really good touch. Um, he does everything right, and then he tries to lob the goalkeeper from the 6 yard box. Just stab it past him. Um, although he hit the post and the bar, and he carved out a good chance for himself. Ball over the top from Diamande, took out two defenders in the process, and the shot was at Xander Clark in the end. However, he is such a frustrating player because you can see the quality he has, but the rest of his game needs serious work. And yeah, it's it's not looking good because I watched. We'll get on to Celtic later, but I watched the Celtic game and um, they just look like Celtic again, like they're Laurie covering his ears there. But yeah, they just look like they're gonna step into this season and dominate. And we looked like we did look like a team in transition. I think fo- that's what this season is going to be, unfortunately. And I think that's why Clement also got that contract extension. He needed assurances that we weren't going to sack him in October, um, if it wasn't going well. So yeah, I'll talk about Hearts a little bit because I thought they were brilliant. You mentioned Gerald Taylor. I think I said he's like a Lamborghini combined with a tank. Speed and power, and everything. He just loves going forward. Um, Matondo and Cortez didn't have him for pace. Those are two very quick players. He was just very good at just getting in front of them, winning the ball. That's how Cortez got injured, actually, I think. And he tried to run at him, and Taylor just got his body in front. Cortez fell over. Um, but Taylor was excellent. Frankie Kent was good, strong in the air. Kai Rose, good at the back. Uh, who else? Who else? Lawrence Shankland. How can you not mention him? He's so much more than a goal scorer. He's so important to that team. His physicality and his link up play, um, and just the fact that he's in there and he's fighting for everything. He's part of the defensive effort in that deeper role where he can sort of control things as well. And yeah, he's a superb player, and they're lucky to have him. Vargas was decent, I thought, causing Davies all sorts of problems. Um, yeah, who was it? Jan Danda, he was quite good.
And
Um,
Jan Lander was unlucky not to score. I mean, he nearly scored an absolute cracker.
yeah, he did. And I've got a shout out for Cammy Devlin as well. Uh, on a yellow card, he was still getting stuck in. I think there was one moment where we cut the ball, we looked to be on the break, and Devlin does like a scoop tackle on Lawrence, and then Hearts are away. I thought George Grant was the whole Hearts team was really good. Xander Clark was good when he was called upon. He didn't have much to do at all. Uh, but yeah, it's Hearts were excellent. We were poor. Uh, However, don't just take that as me saying we were poor. That's why Hearts were excellent. We were poor, but Hearts made us look worse because of how good they were on the day. Their energy and they're just constant, willing to go forward. Barry Mackay, I thought, was actually quite good as well. So it's not looking good for Rangers. Hearts fans should be happy with that performance. Um, maybe they should see it as 2 points dropped, but a draw on the opening day against Rangers or Celtic, for any team, I think they would be quite happy with that. Um, but yeah, really, really good from Hearts, but Rangers really need to step it up. And I think they're, I think we're not in for a pretty season at all. Um, on to the next game, finally. So we've got Ross County and Motherwell, 0-0 draw. I didn't see any of that personally, but it just seems pretty cut and dry, you know. It might have been like the Rangers game, end-to-end stuff, but it's just, I think it was, well, it's just two teams that aren't looking too good this season who finished in a stalemate. Have you guys got anything to add on to that?
Well, I mean, I think it was just a game that lacked quality. I mean, I did watch the highlights of it, but the thing is, I don't actually remember any of it, if that makes sense. And well, when you think of it this way, was it yourself, Ethan, that backed Motherwell to go down? Bit of
Yes, that
an
was my bold take of my prediction list. Don't know if it'll come true. I don't think. I mean, it could, but it's a
no.
bold take. I
I
understand that.
backed Ross County to go down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like it was one of those where it was. Yeah, and who'd that? It was going down. That's St Johnson, who are obviously playing
Yeah,
tonight. But but yeah, not a great game, and not a great opening day
yeah.
for Scottish football. I think I read something. I could do the maths on this, but I think I read something that across all four of the SPFL leagues, it took something like 25 minutes for there to be a goal. You know, like,
That's no.
all taking out the lunchtime game, but yeah. So I don't really think Saturday in particular was a day for goals.
Yeah. Um, no, I agree. I think the Hearts Rangers game, in contrast to by the looks of it, the Motherwell Ross County game had a lot more action. Obviously had that penalty claim, which we didn't even mention, but I think I'm not sure about your stance on it, but I'd love to see that kind of the kind of handballs be taken away from the game. I know Willie Collins said that it'll be relaxed the handball rule, and I just hope they're consistent with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd actually forgot about that. At the time, I thought it would be given because we'd seen so many given like that. And I thought we were lucky to get away with it. But if that's the case, if they're trying to relax the rule and try and make it a bit better, um, I'm I'm all for that. I'm the only, and as well, you just want a bit of consistency. You know, there's so
hmm
much inconsistency last season with the handball rule. I always pull an example from a Rangers game. I'm sure you guys can pull others. It was actually Kilmarnock versus Rangers at Rugby Park where Lundstrom got a penalty given against him for his arm like here,
yeah.
and then Lewis Mayo didn't get a penalty given against him later on in the game with his arm out here. So it's I just want consistency, you know. And I'm not just saying that just because it happened to Rangers. I'm sure it happened to so many other clubs because the refs really didn't have a good showing of it last year at all.
No, not at all. And I can think of another example. Rangers against Kilmarnock again, but this one went in Kilmarnock's favour. When it was Rangers against Kelly at Ibrox, we given a penalty. I can't remember whose hand it hit off of, but there was nothing. There was nothing the Rangers player could do it because the game at
Oh,
New Year
Was it
at
John
Ibrox.
Souttar's one?
Yeah, but again,
Yeah,
look, that's another one. And we're not just trying to go for Rangers against Kelly examples here, but I mean, and then
happened twice.
like, by the looks of it, that wouldn't be given this season, assuming the referees keep it consistent. But I have my doubts over that one, obviously.
Yeah, me too. Right, moving on to the closest derby in the world, I believe.
Yeah, yes.
It was Dundee United at Tannadice facing Dundee, and for an opening day derby, closest derby in the world, it certainly delivered on the hype. 2-2 draw. Um, really exciting end-to-end stuff. You know, the opening goal. Oh, I'm going to butcher this from Trapanovsky. I think I got
Yeah,
that
I
right.
think that's right. Yeah,
That was excuse me, sorry. That was a really good finish, and then Dundee straight back, fighting back. A bit of a calamitous goal. And then obviously and then Dundee United pulled ahead again 5 minutes later with a goal that I thought was a really nicely picked out cross, but really poor defending from Dundee, in my opinion, letting them saunter in at the back like that. Because you should, because when your fullback's defending a guy coming in, you should be in line watching guys coming in at the back, you know. So, yeah, poor defending, but it was a good run and a good cross and finish from them. And then a penalty given away by shock horror Ross Graham, um, one of the usual suspects.
I'm going to say he's always quite rash.
So, so yeah, and McCowan dispatched that quite well, and they certainly delivered on the promise of an exciting derby for opening day. I'll just come to you, Laurie. What's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think it was very much an interesting one. I mean, I caught the majority of the first half. I didn't catch anything beyond that, as I was off to go on the radio, but I was keeping across the score whilst I was on air, and it certainly did appear to be probably the most, well, you could certainly say the most entertaining game that I've seen, so far, albeit it's a fairly small sample size, but certainly better than any of the games served up on Saturday. But Dundee, with sloppy defending, that's nothing new because as much as they had a great season last year, and I'm not taking anything away from Tony Docherty and his team's achievements, they had one of the worst defences in the league last year.
I'm pretty sure they had like the second or third most goals conceded or
Yeah,
something like that.
I want to say it might be second. I want to say Livy might have been the only team to have conceded more.
Yeah, it was just the fact that they scored so much that managed to get them over the line.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's nothing new for Dundee, but I mean, it's a strange one because I see Tony Docherty as being quite defensive minded. But there you go.
Yeah, that is that is funny actually, because obviously you've got a bit of previous experience with him, Laurie, but from his managerial career so far, doesn't look like a defensive-minded manager at all.
No,
Ethan, I'll come to you. Did you manage to catch much of the game, or you got any thoughts on how it played out?
No, I didn't catch much of it, but from what I've seen on Twitter and the goals, it looked like a very end-to-end game, especially in the first half. And it's just a brilliant opening game of the season for both these teams, which I think will be probably evenly matched on the table. I would think. Trapanovski's seemed to have made a really good start at Dundee United. But also Seb Palmer, Howden, I think his name is, the Dundee striker, also scoring his Scottish Premiership debut. And then the penalty then from McCowan's pretty cool. He's became someone that Tony Docherty's been able to rely on. And yeah, it sets up both their seasons pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Now over to Paisley for St Mirren and Hibs. St Mirren flying high, 3-0 win against the Hibees. It was, I didn't see it. I was at work, but I saw the highlights of the game, and it looked to me like St Mirren, like the St Mirren I saw on Thursday. Really exciting play from them. They look comfortable on the ball. They're moving it around. They're playing good stuff. And maybe I'm eating my words. If you remember, one of our classmates last year, St Mirren fan, was saying they play nice football, and we couldn't see it. None of us could see it, and we were kind of laughing at him a bit. However, maybe this is it coming to fruition because Thursday they were brilliant, and from the highlights that I saw of the game, they looked excellent again. Hibs had their chances, but St Mirren are moving the ball really quickly. They're clinical, They've got a lot of energy in their team, a lot of pace, a lot of power, with the likes of Olasanya in there. And I think they're looking like a really good side this season. I think they could aim for that top six finish again. I was just, yeah, I'll just throw it over to you, Ethan. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's a really good result for St Mirren. From a lot of people, including myself, I think there was a Hibs hype train going into this season.
Yeah,
I think they would do a lot better, but they looked to have kind of Hibsed it in their opening game. I think from looking at the stats and looking at the highlights, they seem to have a lot of chances and just couldn't finish their dinner really. Whereas St Mirren scored some brilliant goals and were really quite clinical. 7 goals in 2 games and against two solid opposition will give them a lot of confidence going into that next round of the European tie during the week. And I might, like a lot of people, have doubted St Mirren this season to retain that top six, but with the way it's looking now, Stephen Robinson's got them playing some really good stuff.
yeah. And talking about Hibs in it, it was that I think it was the second goal. They played it back. I think it was James Scott that kept it in, dinked it across, and then it was just a header back across the goalkeeper, who I thought could have done better for that, and that was a bit of a mistake there. But yeah, St Mirren are looking really good. Laurie, I'll just come to you, mate. What's you got any thoughts on St Mirren and the Hibs and how these two teams will fare going into the season?
Yeah, it's tough to call. I think what you said was spot on about, I mean, even said that about Hibs hype train, which I'm personally not on board with necessarily because, I mean, appointing David Gray or Sir David Gray, if we have any high bees listening, is a bit of a gamble because I mean that man's reputation can quite easily get tarnished. But it's early days for him. I hope he does well. But I mean, first and foremost, fair play to St Mirren because coming off the back of a European tie, albeit yes they were at home, coming off the back of a European tie on Thursday, and then coming out and playing like that on the Sunday is to be is to really be commended because St Mirren, like many Scottish clubs, on paper, don't really have the squad depth to deal with Europe. So fair play and best of luck to them in the upcoming tie as well.
On to Celtic now. The champions Flag Day. Um, Playing your Kilmarnock, Laurie. And they dispatched of yous pretty easily. Um, I'm sure Ethan will have a lot to say about this game, positive sense, but I'll just come to you first, Laurie. How you feeling after that absolute drubbing of your beloved Kilmarnock?
It's a strange one because in truth I was expecting the drubbing, Alex. Especially having come off the back of a trip to Belgium, which was ultimately unsuccessful for Kelly. But it's one of these ones where we had a depleted squad, quite a few players, out, unavailable, whatever. So we played a bit of a makeshift back four, including a guy who we just signed on Friday on loan from Sunderland, and it was his first ever game of professional football. Shout out to Oliver Bainbridge there. Um, if you watch the game, the Kelly player with the hairband and who wore number 51. Yeah, so he did well, but I mean we had a makeshift back four because Robbie Dees was suspended, Joe Wright got an injury in Belgium, and Corey Ndaba isn't fit yet either. So we have a bit of a makeshift back four. But the look of the team sheet, well, it didn't appear this way when I was watching it, but the look of the team sheet with David Watson filling in at right back. So yeah. Um so
That's a
4-0 to
waste. That's a
Liverpool.
waste of his talents as well. So
Absolutely is.
uh, yeah, not great. Um, you didn't catch much of it, did you?
No, to be honest, I caught the majority of the second half. And I've seen the goals back, and the goals from a Kilmarnock perspective, for the most part, were pretty cheap. I mean, the first couple especially, and obviously you could debate around the goalkeeper, and then
Yeah, I've got
the,
something to say about the first goal.
yeah, and then the last one felt a bit sucker punchy almost, but and again you possibly blame Roy McCrory again as it goes through his legs. And
Yeah.
we've let Ralston score, and if watching him for Scotland was anything to go by, dearie me.
Yeah. Before I'll just quickly talk about that first goal. Just calamitous defending, ping ponging around, falls to Real Hatate. He's allowed to turn, which he should never be allowed to turn, in my opinion. It's a good finish from him, turns around low and hard into the corner. However, I feel like Robbie McCrory's quite far off his line and he doesn't cover the space that well at all. And he probably should be getting to it. It was a good finish from Hatate, but I think Robbie
Mhm.
McCrory's definitely at fault and the defending, in my opinion. Good header from Liam Scales for the second. Um, Nicholas Kuhn looked electric, I thought, and he got his goal, although it was deflected over him. I thought he did look really good. I think he's looking like he could have a good season, an important season. And then obviously Ralston with the fourth. Uh, Probably poor defending again, allowing him to get onto it, but McCrory maybe should have done better at his near post. That's sort of my quick fire analysis of the goals for the game. But I'll come to you, Ethan, for a bit more. You want to talk about how well your team have done and how you're looking forward to the season.
Yeah, I think where Celtic have left off from where they ended pre-season, that's 4 or more goals in Celtic's last 5 matches now, which is pretty good going. And I think I expected a quick start, especially against, obviously, it's going to be a slightly weakened Kilmarnock team as they obviously put so much into that game on Thursday night in Belgium. But I think um, Celtic, it's a great start, but I think it shouldn't rest on the laurels. It shouldn't distract from the fact there's some key positions that still need strengthened, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they get those signings in before the window shuts. Because if there's a few injuries, especially in the striker position, it'll not be too good.
Aye, definitely. Um, Maybe we could just talk about that quickly. I've heard 7.5 million for Adamida being banded around.
My goodness.
He seems like he's trying to force a move though, storming away during pre-season games and that sort of thing. However, personally, I wouldn't pay 7.5 million for Adamida. I don't think he's worth that, and for the role he's coming into play, you wouldn't just. I think that's lunacy, to be totally honest. I don't know if you've got a different opinion on that, Ethan, but just that I think that's an absolutely crazy fee to bring in a good backup.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of a steep fee. But I do think that the club's now went all guns kind of blazing on him. So I think if we are going to bring a striker, it's going to be him. Don't know if it's we bit of tactics from Celtic telling me to pretty much force a move as it looks like he's doing. He's not looked very happy in the pre-season friendly games, and he's commenting on Celtic's. No, I don't think I've ever seen a player more desperate to join Celtic. So hopefully that can lower the fee down to a wee bit more of what Celtic are looking for. But yeah, I think he'd be a great player to bring in. But speaking about Kilmarnock, I think it was always going to be difficult for them. I could kind of see it going this way with them playing their game on Thursday, with Celtic having a lot more of a rest. I don't know if I didn't get to catch much of the match with travelling, but I think the way Derek McInnes set up his team, from what I've seen, could have been a wee bit better. Looked like it was a wee bit of a negative performance, but I'm happy with the 3 points and the 4 goals, and hopefully Celtic can kick on from where they left last season.
Yeah, it's a strong performance from the champions on opening day. It's worrying signs for any Rangers supporters after them being so poor, and it just looks like Celtic are going to kick on. However, it's still early days, but they've got the advantage straight away, and you know how important 2 points can be in the title race. So, yeah, really, really good from Celtic, and an exciting weekend all in all. We've got one more game to come tonight, which I don't know about you guys. I think I'll be tuning in to see how that goes. Just the fact that football's back, I'll be watching anything I can. But yeah, that's our roundup for the weekend's action. On to the European football. Rangers go to play Dynamo Kiev. Is it still? I'm not totally sure. Is it in Poland still?
Yeah, Finland, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Poland. Right, they go to Poland to play Dynamo Kiev. Obviously because of the current ongoing situation in Ukraine. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna win. I don't think Rangers are gonna get anything. Dynamo Kiev dispatched Partizan Belgrade pretty easily. I think it was 9-2 on aggregate.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
so yeah, it's not looking good. And even if Rangers progress, they'll play RB Salzburg or FC20. And I think it will be Salzburg to beat FC20. And I think Rangers would get absolutely hammered for the current state of the squad and the play. From us, that's sort of my quick opinion on the matter. It's all doom and gloom at Ibrox right now. And unless a miracle happens. We need more bodies. We need just we need a better squad, and we need a style as well. Unless a miracle happens, I don't think we'll be playing Champions League football this season. I'll just throw it over to you, Laurie, to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough time to be a Rangers fan for yourself, Alex. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not convinced that Rangers would even be ready for the Champions League. I mean, we saw, well, 2 seasons ago now. Yeah, 2 seasons ago how Rangers were in the Champions League. I'm not trying to give you a PTSD, Alex, but I honestly don't think it would go any better than that, really, at this point. So maybe being in the Europa League would be for the better, albeit, well, I'm not saying there would be a Seville 2.0, but hopefully you can maybe at least win a run in the Europa League. And I mean, Rangers do seem to quite like Thursday night football.
Yeah, definitely. However, though, I don't know about this new format, how it's going to play out for any of the Scottish clubs. It's 8 different teams you play, and there's more games added as well to the schedule. So it's quite a big ask, and I don't know how Rangers would fare in that league table style format in the Champions League or the Europa League. However, I'm being pessimistic. I think it will be the Europa League. I'll just come to you, Ethan. Um, what's your opinions on Rangers going into this UCL tie?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tall order for Rangers. I think the squad's not where it needs to be this moment in time. I think even just looking at the match at the weekend with some of the substitutes and options on the bench, I think even Hearts had better options to bring off the bench, and that really does say about Rangers squad right now. And Dynamo Kiev, of course, quality European opposition. Got multiple internationals in that Ukrainian team, which obviously didn't fare too well at the Euros. But I think Dynamo Kiev will be able to progress through that, and I think Rangers will have to make sure they get in the Europa League and no lower. As I'm sure we'll move on to the other ties now.
Yeah, Kilmarnock. Laurie, I'll just come to you. Obviously, you unfortunately crashed out of the Europa League qualifying in Belgium, as you previously referenced in the episode. Going into this game, how are you feeling about Kilmarnock's chances?
It's tough to actively evaluate that because no one really knows what level our opposition in the Conference League qualifier is actually like. So we've been drawn against Tromsø of Norway, who are probably more known for being a team who are based rather close to the Arctic Circle. So even though we're in August, I imagine it'd be rather chilly in Norway, at least in relative terms. But what's different in Scotland, really? But it's hard to judge how we will actually fare. Of course, on paper, Kilmarnock will have more of a chance in the Conference League than it did in the Europa League. But whether we actually get through this tie, and obviously if we do, we then face a playoff. And I found out today, just as we record this, some of the potential opponents that Kelly could come up against in said playoff. Um, Kilmarnock are unseeded, so it does mean that we avoid the likes of Ajax, for instance, or Odijek, if they ring a bell to you, Alex. But it does mean that we can tend to come up against, if we beat Tromsø, the likes of Copenhagen, RC Lons, Trabzonspor, and Heidenheim.
Aye,
So
it's
teams
not
that
looking
would
good.
comfortably dispatch Kilmarnock if we can beat Tromsø. And I don't imagine Tromsø are bad either.
Yeah, definitely. Kilmarnock. I hope they do well because I want Scottish teams to do well. Bring the coefficient up. Um, Give Rangers a bit of help. But um, yeah, I hope Kilmarnock do well, and I hope St Mirren do well as well. We'll just move on to them. We're playing Bran. I can't say I know much about Bran, but I know a good bit about St Mirren. They're playing well. They look good, and I think they could do it. I'll just come to you, Ethan. How do you feel about St Mirren's chances going into this?
Yeah, I think both teams have a solid chance. I mean, you look at the leagues. I know on paper you can't not everything's off paper, but St Mirren and Kilmarnock have been two solid teams over the last season. Though Kilmarnock maybe haven't started this season the best, but they've had some tricky fixtures, and I think um, both teams will be looking to go through. I know maybe they don't have the most realistic chance of getting there. As St Mirren have different opponents they can play. Some of the names include Fiorentina, Sheriff Tiraspol, Bromby, Lega Warsaw, FC Zurich. Like some big names in there, and it'll be very difficult for both teams to go through. So I think I'm probably just looking for glamour ties. And I've got to ask you, Laurie, who out of that draw would you love to see come to Rugby Park as like a big name?
I mean, I think it'd be quite cool to maybe, I would take any of them, but it'd be quite cool to get Copenhagen, although I'm gutted. I'm gutted that Ajax are alongside us in the unseeded path. Because a lot of Kelly fans, when the Europa League draw first happened, when we got Cercle Bruges, wanted us to get Ajax, myself included, so I'm gutted we can't get them. But I suppose out of what's there, I'd probably say Copenhagen just for, European kind of prestige and history, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would if you just want to sort of enjoy it and take it in.
Yeah.
And if you win, wow. But obviously they've got that tie ahead. So that's the European games spoken about, Ethan. just before we wrap it up, I think you wanted to quickly mention the Premier Sports Cup draw,
Yeah.
and who will be going up against who in the round of 16.
Yeah. Of course, I don't think we've not really had an episode where we've been through the Premier Sports Cup.
Mm-hmm.
At the group stage, I don't think there was many shocks on the teams that went through. But the draw's here, and it's just right around the corner, just less than 2 weeks away until the first round of games. And of course, if you remember back to last season, Celtic, of course, went out to Laurie's Kilmarnock in this stage, where Rangers went on to win the whole thing. But in this year's draw, we've got Aberdeen v Queen's Park, Rangers v St Johnstone, Falkirk v Hearts, Spartans v Ross County, a possible cup shock there. Dundee v Airdrieonians, Celtic v Hibs, which is the kind of standout tie, you would say. Kilmarnock will go to Motherwell, and Dundee United will play St Mirren. And that was just what we'd mentioned. That as the draw was only a few days ago.
Yeah, one of those that actually quite intrigues me is a Falkirk and Hearts. Falkirk obviously with a superb season last season, and Hearts having to go there and try and get something. I believe uh, it could be quite a difficult game for them. Maybe an upset there. Obviously, Spartans, that would be exciting. Um, I think Rangers and Celtic won't have problems with their games. Kilmarnock going to Motherwell. Um, Laurie,
I
do you
mean,
think that's a reasonable shout for you to get something?
we certainly could, but it'll be a tough game to call. And Motherwell will also fancy their chances. I mean, considering that Kelly obviously got a bye from the League Cup group as we're in Europe, and were as a result a seeded team, I actually think Motherwell's quite a tough draw to get as a seeded side. It's not the worst draw in the world, but then again, could you argue that getting something like Airdrie would be tougher? Because obviously they've been flying under Reece McCabe. And just to quickly bring something up, and I, I don't remember you reading this team out a minute ago, so they might have been knocked out of the League Cup as well. I know I've not really mentioned it on the pod too much, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. We've had our first managerial casualty of the season already.
Oh
And if
yeah,
any of you have spotted this, so Rafe Rovers have decided to sack Ian Murray, which I found absolutely crazy, to be honest. I mean, they were at one point they were odds on for Premiership football this season. So why after one league game would he be out the door? Seems a bit mental to me.
Yeah.
yeah, that is a bit crazy, but that's just the wonderful world of Scottish football that we've grown to love. You know, well, yeah, Scottish football's back. It's been good back chatting about it with you guys in our normal format. Feels like we're back at it properly, and this is our first proper season to talk about it as well. We started the podcast during the Euros, just before the Euros actually. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to a good season, talking about Scottish football, with you guys with me, and thank you everyone who's tuned in, watched or listened to us ramble. Um, we really appreciate it. Um, Make sure to go and check out the Twitter. I think I've got it wrong the last time. Is it at the Dugout 2024?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think
spot on.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I got it correct. Thank you for listening to episode 10 of the Dugout podcast, and we'll be back next week talking about the next fixtures in Scottish football, probably reviewing the European results as well. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.